Thank you. I guess I've got to that time in my life when I realized that my time on this planet Earth is not going to extend out too much longer. So I've got an interesting question about source energy itself. Now, I appreciate that we are part of source energy, but is source energy in itself sort of got a pecking order? Is there higher levels of source energy, or are we so in the afterlife then?
There is no afterlife. There's only the now life. It's all now. You think it's after this, but it isn't. It's the same as it's now. It's now. In other words, everyone that you know who's made their reemergence is still here with you now. There's no afterlife. There's just now. Here's where all of the power is. It's just now.
So as we come into this life experience, and perhaps with previous life experiences,
it's all now. It's all now.
Do we aspire to sort of increase our energy levels?
No.
So, is it therefore part of this life experience that we can improve our vibrational energy level? I guess what I'm trying to say in oldie worldy terms, I always thought for a long time that there was a supreme being that put the word God to this. And then under that, we had the archangels.
You interpret vibration differently, and the things you conjure in your attempt to explain why things aren't going better for you personally. But we'll tell you how it is.
Please, that's the essence of the question. What is it like?
So prior to your focus into this physical body, you were consciousness aware of this time-space reality. And we're not going to take a lot of time to explain how you came to all of that, but it was through all of the experiences that you've lived. Now, you have to understand that since law of attraction is managing all vibrational frequencies, that when you reemerge back into non-physical, that you're at that high frequency, and law of attraction is managing that, and that's where man gets the sense of this supreme being. It's where you get the sense, and it's not off, but it is not a singular consciousness. It is a collective consciousness, and it is made of all that is has evolved to. So what man wants to call God stands as that supreme consciousness, that extended consciousness, that expanded consciousness that became more just now with the asking of that question. In other words, everything that you live causes the expansion of that. So that existed, and you were part of that. And from that all-knowing understanding of your worthiness and eagerness to participate in the details of that expansion, a part of that consciousness came forward into the personality that you know as you. So here you are, a part of that consciousness, a unique part of that consciousness, who has the ability in the moment that you are born or any time along the way to resonate with the fullness of it or to pinch yourself off in some sort of less than fullness of it. And in fact, just being physically focused naturally makes it logical because of the diversity of your time-space reality that you would not be a perfect vibrational match to the pure positive energy of Source. In fact, with very good reason. Source says, we will remain here as the receivers of what you have sifted and sorted and concluded. We will hold the frequencies in their highest form as you deliver them to us. And law of attraction will continue to respond to the vibrational frequency of that. And in doing so, you will be able to feel in your human form as you are doing what you all wanted to do and what we all want for you to do, as you're exploring the contrast for the purpose of finding the new idea in which we can all flow. In that contrast that you will be living, there will be some departure's too strong a word, disconnection is too strong a word, but some possible depriving yourself of some of the fullness of that which we are as you are carving out the yet new idea. So you said, I'll go forth and I'll explore and I'll come to new conclusions. And Source said, and we will remain here as the joyful recipient of every wonderful new expansion that you discover. And we will hold steady the frequency of that. And then you said, at some point, I will withdraw my attention from this time-space reality, and I will reemerge into source energy. And as you reemerge into source energy, now how do you fit into the whole that is source? Is it just a nebulous mist without any form of focus? Not at all. You reemerge into non-physical as the being who came forth, and as the being who expanded, and as the being who wanted, and as the being who understood or didn't. And you reemerge back into non-physical, and everything that was of interest to you while you were here in this physical time-space reality is more poignantly of interest to you now, because now you are seeing all of those things that you cared about through the eyes of Source. Now you are seeing them in their perfection, in their clarity, in their absence of resistance, you see. So now, all the people who have known you, all those who have loved you, all those who are now thinking about you, they now have access to that pure, positive energy version of you, unless they're missing you, unless they're beating the drum of the absence of you, unless they don't understand who you are and how you fit into the whole of this, you see. And it's really sort of splitting hairs to try to, from physical form, if you are one remaining, as Jerry made his transition to the non-physical. For a while, Esther was annoyed at the idea that he had just merged with Abraham. It was so annoying. I've always had Abraham. I don't want Abraham. I want Jerry. For what she began to discover is that Jerry has keen interest that's more specifically focused upon the details of the life that Jerry and Esther were living, and that Esther still is living, than Abraham has ever been. In other words, Jerry is still involved in the editing process. He's still interested in the temperature of the room in which you come in. He wants this format to be one that is comfortable for you. In other words, Esther can feel him all over the place. Her mind is full of his promptings. You see what we're getting at? So when you reemerge into non-physical, you don't stop being who you are. You just stop being the resistant part of who you were. You become the full vibrational being of who you are. You live in that. And so anyone who is physically focused, who then understands that, now gets where inspiration comes from. Esther said to Jerry, she's been saying it a lot, I'm thinking about you all day, every day. And Jerry says to her, how do you know it's you thinking about me and not me thinking about you? And when Esther thinks about it, how does she know that? Out of the blue comes a thought of clarity. She had her pool replastered in the last couple of months. And she was standing there with the men who were making the proposal to her. And things began occurring to Esther that she had no business knowing. Suddenly she knew how much water the pool would hold. And she knew that draining it was going to be interesting, and that there was a special valve that would take it out into the pasture so that it didn't have to flood the gardens. She didn't know she knew that, but she knew that because Jerry knew that. She knew that the windmill that has been pumping the water into the big holding tanks had some water, enough water, but some of it at the bottom may be a bit murky because it's been there a while. And so she did not want them to try to fill the pool all at once, because she did not want to introduce that murky water from the tank into the pool. Where am I getting this stuff, Esther is thinking? Why do I know these things that I have not known before? Because you are in alignment with Source, in this case, the Source that is your dearly departed mate, who knows everything about that, you see. How am I, as a painter, painting this masterpiece? How do I know about the depth of texture and the breadth of color? How do I know these things? How can I write this music that I have not had access before? Where does this inspiration come from? It comes from those who have lived and who know, who are part of that which you are, who are flowing to you all day, every day for your surprise and delight, you see. As humans, you have quartered yourselves off as such individuals that you think that your work is to prove your worthiness to the point that you're wanting to extract yourself from anything that is helpful. And we're wanting you to begin blending yourself with all that is helpful. Because it is not as your religions have been teaching you. You're not here proving your worthiness. You are here being your worthiness. And you are the only one who can assign unworthiness to you. And when you are doing it, you always feel negative emotion, you see. So in time, you will have to make your transition, maybe, in order to really understand the whole of this. But if you just gather a handful of premises from us here today, if you can just accept that you were before you were in this body and that you still are, and that you will be long after you are not in this body, but that you will have the perspective of that which you are, and that everything that you've ever lived equals the whole of which you are, and that from your source perspective, you spend no time defending who you are or trying to explain who you are. You just be it. Where in your physical format, you spend so much time trying to explain it that often you don't allow yourself to be it, you see. You don't remember it, but you were a few months old at one time, and you were 1 year old and 2 years old and 3 years old. You've been moving along this vibrational trail for a long time, and every point of that perspective has contributed to the whole of who you are. But the whole of who you are stands as the culmination of all of that knowing, not going back and trying to defend its beingness by explaining that happened and that happened and that happened and that happened. We would like to zap all of you with an understanding of your perfection and your worthiness. But in some ways, we are eager to experience your exhilaration once you reemerge back into the wholeness of all of that. We also enjoy watching you tap into it just by finding something to feel good about here and now. And it is our promise to you that from this point forward, when you feel that inspiration flowing through you, that beyond the good idea that you're receiving and beyond the good idea that will play itself out in a very productive way for you, beyond the good idea that will bring you the money that you're looking for or bring you the mate that you're looking for or bring you the whatever it is that you're looking for, beyond the specifics of that manifestation that will come on the heels of that really good idea, the most important thing that will come when you feel that good idea is that you will know that in this moment you are in perfect concert or resonance with the whole of who you are. You cannot be physical without being non-physical. You could not be more spiritual. There could not be more God flowing than that which is flowing through you. It's time for you to accept the rightness, the perfection, the wholeness, the worthiness of that which is you, and get on with enjoying this moment in time with others who know it too, you see. And in time, we will not be having conversations about how short or long this life is, because you will understand that you are eternal in your beingness. And you will not be dreading the time of your departure or lamenting the fact that somebody else departed, because there is no separation between what is physical and non-physical. Instead, you will be flowing in this moment in time, doing your very best to allow the wholeness of who you are, because it is only in the wholeness of who you are that this moment in time feels the way it is supposed to feel, or the way you intended for it to feel, you see. You came forth with the powerful intention of living unconditional love. You came forth intending to feel the wholeness of who you are and to present that wholeness, as our last friend was talking to us about, to present that wholeness in this moment in time. So when you're talking to a child who feels that they have a problem and you know their solution, you're looking at them with the pure compassion. And compassion is nothing like sympathy. Compassion is knowing who they are, knowing where they are, knowing who they really are, and seeing who they really are, no matter how they are seeing themselves, seeing them completely through the eyes of Source. And when you do that, when you are tuned in to the frequency of that which is Source, everyone who is in your presence benefits by that which you are. They know their worthiness more. They know their greatness more. They are smarter. They are more intuitive. They are more in step with what they want. They thrive. When you begin to see people around you thriving, you will know you're doing your work, you see. And that's what we know as well. As you thrive, as you are, in more ways than you are willing to admit at times, that's when we know that we are really doing our work. Because we know who you are. It's just, you take a little convincing. So, really good.
And tell me just one thing. Once we
just one.
return,
Tell you just one.
once we return, do we get the opportunity to
Return
come again?
to what's your point of return that you're talking about?
Well,
Returning where? Since you're never gone, how do you return?
okay.
So you're non-physically focused, maybe wholly, but still completely aware. Have you returned or not? If you're in your physical body, still connected to Source, what's coming and what's going? In other words, return, we're wanting to help you to blur those lines just a little bit, because it's the way you've come to separate. Now, we'll hear your question. Now we've completely mocked you, but
I guess the question is, do we come back again into a future body to have new experience?
never ended, never ending. But the question that we want to put to you is, who comes? Who comes?
Well, Source energy comes.
The whole of that which you are comes. All that is Source comes every single time. Every single time.